What's going on, guys? Today I'm doing a video on X symbolism of like the letter or the image of an X and its relationship to Saturn. So, like I said, there's a lot of specific symbols I want to talk about, and they often overlap with each other, which makes it hard to keep them in their own specific individual video. But I want to try and do that. So like this video is oriented towards just the X. So right here, let's read this. The Phoenician Taw, which I got a whole nother video to do on pirates and Phoenicians and all that, but like I said, I'm trying to keep it limited. The Phoenician Taw, I'm going to butcher a lot of these words. Yehimilk inscription, 13th century BC. To the Taw was a symbol of the end, the African Saturn, Baal, Hammon. So right there, just that first sentence was a symbol of the end. Okay, so there's a lot of ways. So Saturn is the end, which he's the whole imagery for the Grim Reaper is based off Saturn. So obviously the end could mean death, but there's other ways you can think about that too. You know, the end of the world, of the apocalypse, the end of your life, like the idea that death is inevitable and approaching, the end of friendships, like the very idea that when you know, there's a guy in Majora's Mask, the video game, he says, whenever there's a meeting, a parting is sure to follow. So, as soon as, it's like the sad reality that when you meet someone, in the end, there's going to be an end to that. Whether it's you guys split up because of different life, or life has its way of separating you, or you end up not liking each other, or your friendship lasts the entire life, but then you die at the end of it. So, there's always this idea of despair and like hopelessness that this symbol generates, and it's symbolic of the end. Whenever you hear, like for example, I posted a Mass Effect clip of the Reaper. He's the king of the Reapers, named Sovereign, which Reaper, Grim Reaper, Saturn. If you listen to him, he's saying like, I am the personification of like the end of your civilization. So whenever you hear someone saying like, I am the end and stuff like that, they're basically saying they're this guy, they're this archetype, the devil, the Saturn archetype, whatever. So again, and by solar, there's some people, even though Saturn's not, you know, if we listen to like scientific perception of whatever those planets are in the sky, Saturn is not a sun. But for some reason, in Kabbalah and in a lot of occult teachings, it's known as the black sun. And there's even some cultures that believe it used to be a sun. It's a sun that like died out. But I can't speak on that. But symbolically, you could call it the black sun also, which is another way of thinking. The X and the black sun are the same thing. But the thing I really wanted to include with this was the Phoenicians is important to know about. The symbol of the end, African Saturn, Baal Hammon. We're going to look at that god right now. Baal or Baal Hammon, properly known as Baal, which we've all heard of the god Baal too, which is another name for the devil. Phoenician, blah blah blah, was the chief god of Carthage. He was a weather god considered responsible for fertility and vegetation. Esteemed of the gods, he was depicted as bearded old man with curling ram's horns. Baal Hammon's female cult partner was Tanit. There's something to the Tanit symbol too, his female cult partner. I don't have a picture of it, but it's like, you'll have to look it up. It's a weird, there's something to that, and I can't speak too much on it. But the whole vegetation, fertility, like there's an overlap again with Saturn being like a god of agriculture and like technology in a way. Anyways, consort, Tanit, Greek equivalent, Kronos, Roman equivalent, Saturn, Canaanite equivalent, Baal, or Moloch, Let's see what else we got. So again, different cultures had different names for the same thing, just like different symbols have different ways of explaining or showing the same thing. Let me see. The worship of Baal flourished in the Phoenician colony of Carthage. His supremacy among the Carthaginian gods is believed to date to the 5th century BC, after relations between Carthage and Tyre were broken off at the time of the Battle of Himera. Modern scholars identify him variously with Modern scholars identify him variously with the Northwest Semitic god El, which I've shown you before. Elohim, El means Saturn. It does. Or God, or with Dagon, which is close to the word dragon. And I don't know too much about Dagon, but if you, even in fiction, if you like search for Dagon in fiction, I'm pretty sure you'll come up with numerous villains with that name. And it's one letter off from the word dragon. And I did a video on dragon symbolism, and that definitely overlaps with all this crap too. In Carthage, in North Africa, Baal was especially associated with the ram and was worshipped also as Baal Quinarium, Lord of the Two Horns. You know what's interesting too? There's a game called Dragon Quest Inquisition, or Dragon Quest in general. There's a race of people called the Quinari, and they have those horns. So there's probably something to that word, Quinarium, Quinarum, Quinary, that has to do with ram's horns or whatever. I'm just now noticing that. Okay, so that could be one way of thinking about why the devil has, in some artistic illustrations of him, has horns. Identified him with the Titan Kronos. In ancient Rome, he was identified with Saturn, and the cultural exchange between Rome and Carthage as a result of the Second Punic War may have influenced the development of the festival of Saturnalia. Okay, I totally forgot about this example, because it's a video about X symbolism in relationship to Saturn. Well, what's another word for... Okay, first off, let me say this. May have influenced the development of the festival of Saturnalia. Saturnalia is where we get Christmas. Okay? Christmas is also called Xmas. So it's based off a Roman holiday called Saturnalia, and then we name it something called Xmas. I'm pretty sure in the Bible it never says anything about Jesus being born on December 25th. What else is there? There's something else to the Christmas thing. I mean, just aside from the word Santa being close to the word Satan and being close to the word Saturn, they're all similar words. If you look at a lot of depictions of Saturn gods, like it said, I just read a little bit ago, he was depicted with a long white beard. Well, okay, that's Old Saint Nick. If you look up Old Nick, also, that's another word or name for the devil. Mainly, the thing that connects it to Christmas to Saturn is that it's probably based off Saturnalia, and we call it Xmas, which is why I'm even talking about it. There's also a game called League of Legends. I never played it, but for a holiday, skin like cosmetic skins for the character. It was like a battle arena game where you could play as different gods from different religion, like myths and stuff. The skin that they gave Kronos was a Santa costume. So Kronos, the Saturn guy, gets the Santa costume. It's called Xmas. I don't know. Anyways, that's enough about the Christmas thing. But it's worth including because I totally forgot about the Xmas part. Burn their children's burn their children's offerings to Baal. See Moloch for a discussion of these traditions. So Moloch, Baal, all that stuff, the offering of the kids, you could simply look at that, think of that as time, aging someone, the end, right? But it's also, it goes more symbolic than that, than just the simple fact that you're going to age and die, and like your mortality. It's a lot, it has, you know, I did a video called The Young in Heart versus Time. And there's a few examples in there of this whole time versus heart dynamic. You know, you see pictures of Jesus. Whether he looked like that or not, probably not. He's pointing at the Sacred Heart. He's pointing at it. And that's just... And there's other Bible verses about, like... you have to become like little children if you're going to enter the kingdom of heaven. And that doesn't mean be irresponsible your entire life or never grow up. It means like maintain a sense of like curiosity and optimism throughout your entire life. And Saturn calls for the demolishing of that, like the demolishing of that, you know, what you could call naivety, so you can grow up, basically. But it's really like cutting off possibility and dreams and hope, because it's just like, alright, it's time to grow up, basically. I hope that makes sense. X as signifying the end of something, an entity whose existence is over, past, dead, and gone. X as a sign of a symbol of the symbol cross, as a sign of the cross where Christ was crucified, or for Christ himself. I don't know about that, but this symbol or marker can also be understood as crossing over to another dimension, a transcendence, transformation, or transmigration. You know, like a lot of stuff to unpack here. Even right here, you know, when I want to X something out, when I want to close the page, I X it out. I press the X in the corner. Just something as simple as that. Why is it an X? Well, it probably has origins back to this stuff, man. Most things do, really. If you really keep digging, most things go back to the occult and like old gods and things like that. Anyways, as a sign, X as a sign of the cross where Christ was crucified. I do believe that is true. I don't think Christ himself is a symbol as the X, because I don't think Christ is Saturn. I don't think Christ's dad is Saturn, or that Christ is a, because he's God in the flesh, right? So, but there's a distinction at the same time. He's God in the flesh, but at the same time there's a distinction to be made between Jesus and God the Father. But I don't think Jesus' father is Saturn. I'll just say it like that. But I do think the X, that the cross that he was crucified on, was a Saturn symbol. Think about it. Take the guy that is like the personification, symbolic personification of everything that is opposed to whatever this Saturn stuff is. The world. In tarot, Saturn's the world. And it talks about, you know, the world being the devil's domain, and God, or the devil is the god of this world, and walk not according to the course of this world, but of course, you know, not being swayed or tempted or captured by the ways of the world, the thoughts of this world. You're supposed to be above that. I'm not from beneath, I'm from above. Things like that, you know. So you take the guy that's opposed to all the Saturn crap, and you nail him on it with 3 9-inch nails. So you take the 3, which is, I could be reaching on this, but I do think there's something to it. The 3, which is Binah, B-I-N-A-H, on the Tree of Life, which is Saturn, which is 3. And there's something to the 9 also. I'm not too good on numerology, but I'm going to do a video on the 9 stuff, and there's something to it. And I'll just show you the examples that I have. And I know a lot of the times I say that, like, you know, I just show examples, and I can't tell you exactly what it means, because I honestly, this stuff is tricky, man. It's confusing, and there's so many layers to it, and I don't want to put you in a box and tell you, here's what it means, and it can mean nothing else. Like, it's, a lot of this stuff is up to you, and if I say something or show you something and it clicks, or then further, I say something and 2 years from now you see something and it relates to it, that's how it works for me. Like, I didn't find all these examples in one day. It just accumulates over time. So you take a guy that's like symbolic of rising above the ways of the world, and you nail him to a symbol of, you know, and even think about what Jesus did. He came back from the dead. He resurrected. Death is the end. That's Saturn. He came back. He beat death. He dethroned death when he came back, when he resurrected. Anyways, he's a symbol of hope. He's a symbol of life. Saturn is a symbol of despair and a symbol of death, to put it very mildly, which is why I don't think Jesus could be a symbol of Christ, or the X could be a symbol of Christ himself, according to this thing. Back to the Phoenician thing. You probably won't be able to read it, but okay, there's a few things to notice. Staying on topic with the X, it's got the 3 X's on the forehead of this mask. Phoenician funerary mask, excavated at Carthage, 2nd century, blah blah blah. So this is something that they would wear at funerals and it's Phoenician. Again, Phoenicians, the Hebrew language is the Phoenician language. I'm going to do a video on pirates, and Phoenicians are kind of the original pirates. And it, like I said, these overlap. I'm going to take some of the pirate flags and put them in this video because it relates to the X thing, and it's insane. It's ridiculous. It's absurd how much, like, what they put on these flags, and nobody ever talks about it. But anyways, Phoenician, that's the thing to pay attention to, look out for. The X on the forehead, funerary mask, funeral, death, Saturn. You guys get it. Like, you guys can make the connections by now, I hope. Which is weird, like, look at that too. Why is that, like, such a happy face at a funeral? Like, I guess, like, understand, like, you know, trying to be strong at a funeral, like, so you don't bring other people even further down, like, trying to be, like, a pillar of support and be happy. Like, I guess that's one way I could understand being happy at a funeral. But this mask just looks creepy. Here's some of the pirate flags, right? And I don't know if I have it, but there's one with there's one of Blackbeard's, and it's just like this. It's exactly like same theme, but I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's like a skeletal figure with with horns coming out of it, holding an hourglass, stabbing at a heart. Okay, same thing with down here, some guy with a weird face, not really as skeletal in this one. Hourglass, stabbing at a heart. Hourglass, skeleton, stabbed heart. So, these are all different variations of a pirate flag. And what do pirates, you know, the observation deck? It's called a crow's nest. A crow's nest. Why not any other bird? Why does it have to be a crow? Well, crows, ravens, and vultures, those are all the death birds. Those are all the Saturn birds. Like, if you wanted to pick a bird to associate with Saturn, it would be a crow, a raven, or a vulture. And, of course, the pirate ship has a crow's nest. It just makes sense. Anyways, you'll see someone with the X, but, like, look at this dynamic that's going on. You have the death and time, this whole, like, I don't know how to explain this to you. I don't even know for myself exactly what this means. But it's like you're giving up, and like giving up on like ideals and just committing yourself to live in a certain way, so that because the world is so cruel, or ideals, you know, don't really work out, and it just kind of gets you taken advantage of, and it makes you seem weak or whatever. That's one way to think about it. And you just give in and you start living the way that the world is like beating you down to tell you to live like. Instead of like rising above it and maintaining the ideals and stuff, you kind of give in. That's how I see it, in one fashion. Again, watch my video called "The Young in Heart versus Time." This is a constant rivalry. You'll see set up time versus the heart. Like I said, there's the Sacred Heart with Jesus. I did a video on Dragon Symbolism, and then I uploaded a video of cutscenes from a video game called Dragon's Dogma, and he's obsessed. He's taking this guy's heart, and that video is really good, man. If you really pay attention to what the dragon's saying, I don't know how people don't pick up on this stuff. It's ridiculous. Okay, so back to the X thing. You know, we all know that's the classic pirate flag we are used to seeing. The skull and crossbones. But this one has an hourglass underneath it just to reinforce that this is a Saturn symbol. Like, it's retarded. Look at this. I don't know how people don't pick up on this. You got an X with a skull with the death thing, and then you have the hourglass. I mean, come on. This is 100% Saturn stuff. Here's another one. Hourglass in the left hand, crossed X bones in the right, a skeleton's holding it, a spear stabbing the heart. And again, you know what? This is the second time now, or third time now. I wasn't going to comment on it, but every time the heart has 3 drops coming from it. I don't know why. Like I said, 3 is usually a Saturn, right here. Oh, okay, not this one. But these two, 3 drops, 3 drops. I wasn't even going to say anything, but they showed it too many times. 3 drops. So that's probably not an accident. Once you see it like 3 or 4 times in a row, probably not an accident. I met a girl with the Blackbeard flag in her room, and it's funny because like I'm trying to tell you guys, this stuff makes its way into people that don't even know about it. Like, she's a girl that likes the whole goth, like, death aesthetic, like as an artsy look, but she doesn't really understand the symbolic value of this stuff whatsoever at all. And matter of fact, I tried even saying something to her, and she looked at me like I had two heads. The point is, she's into this as like an aesthetic, and like not really liking God and stuff, and like the whole death, like, oh, pain, oh, that whole death culture type attitude. I'm gonna do a video on that stuff. I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And she hangs a flag like that up in her room without even realizing like what it is. It's funny because she made that association with it subconsciously without even understanding what she was looking at. So on some level it registered, oh, this pirate flag, it's a skeleton with an hourglass stabbing a heart. She probably couldn't tell you one single, I'm not even trying to be mean, but this is how it is. And this, like, she couldn't tell you one single thing about it. Yet she still made the association and hung it up, and she realized it was part of that like goth darkness aesthetic that she liked so much, right? And it's the same thing with, like, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like on the internet, especially back in the old days, and like Xbox Live and stuff, people, teenagers or kids who were trying to be like edgy, they would put the X's in their name, right? Like XX Grim Reaper X, like they put it at the beginning and ending of their name, and the name would always be something like kind of corny, but like, you know, death related or something like that. And it's, again, it shows how that X has made its way in archetypally and symbolically without even people, just like as part of an aesthetic, without even people realizing that it's actually an old evil, in my opinion, evil symbol. I just think that's fascinating how the occult can make its way into people's lives and heads without even them understanding it. But that's usually how it is. And unless you have, like I've talked about this before, and like in another video where I talked about information and perception, unless you have the knowledge, you won't be able to perceive things. It'll just go over your head, but that doesn't mean they're not there. Anyways, here we have, you know, just the classic Skull and Bones, which is also that group like Bush went to at Yale or whatever, that fraternity, Skull and Bones, the 322, which is weird. Why, at one point, I think it was 2008, I forget, he was John Kerry, I think it was. There's a video of them being interviewed, and it's like, oh, you were both members of Skull and Bones. Isn't that weird how both presidential candidates this year are members of former members of Skull and Bones, and then they just kind of shut down and don't really talk about it anymore. But that's kind of a weird group. Like, if you're in a, why are you a member of a frat that's basically like putting death on a pedestal? You know what I mean? That's one thing I've talked about with death culture. I've been meaning to talk about, but I'm kind of saving it for that video. Is like, it's one thing to understand. People are probably going to comment if anyone ever even sees this, like, well, what's so wrong about death? You know, it's like it's a part of life. You know, it doesn't mean he's evil or the bad guy. And it's like, okay, I can understand that. And there's actually some value to acknowledging death as an inevitability, like that whole Latin saying, I think, memento mori, like remember death or remember you're going to die. You'll probably live more, you'll probably hug people a little tighter, be a little more grateful for the bonds that you have, spend your time a little more wisely if you realize that it's not unlimited, that the fact that it is going to end. I can appreciate that, but what this shit is, okay, and what the death culture is, you wait until I show you the pictures that I have of this death culture stuff and show you the lyrics that I have and stuff. This has crossed the line. It's mental illness. It's putting pain, mediocrity, suffering, all this stuff on a pedestal and like worshiping it and calling it God. It's like saying screw redemption, screw hope. This place sucks. Let's just like basically give up and like pleasure ourselves and wait for, I don't know, it's just, you guys understand what I'm saying. It's one thing to acknowledge it as a fact of life. It's another thing to start putting it on a pedestal. And you know exactly, I have infinite examples to show you. And if you just keep your eye out and keep your ear open, you'll start seeing them too. You don't even need me to do it. Anyways, this is Miley Cyrus. Just some dumb examples of celebrities, you know, putting the X on their eyes. Which again, the X on the eye thing, think about it in cartoons and stuff, when a character gets like knocked out or killed. Instead of, you know, a very cartoony way of showing that they've been KO'd or killed without it being too graphic is to X out their eyes. So, like, they have the X's on their eyes and they're knocked out, right? whether they realize it or not, they're contributing to the death culture. They're contributing to this stuff. They're a part of it. Like, you know, and a lot of them are into the occult. Like, I'll do videos on people individually and show and prove how they have occult knowledge, and they just don't actually say anything. They just slip it in. They never bother to, like, come out to their audience and just tell them, because they'd rather collect a check from people rather than try to teach them anything. I don't know what it is, but Hollywood's in on it. Probably shouldn't trust any of these people. They're not good. Speaking of the pirate things and celebrities, I'll do a video on it at some point. If you look at Johnny Depp, because Pirates of the Caribbean, he made everyone fall. He's Jack Sparrow. He made everyone fall in love with pirates. That's another thing with getting the girls to like a bad archetype with the vampires and the pirates. Those are not good. No matter how like cool you make them in a movie, those are not good men. Vampires and pirates, those are like horrible creatures. And if you follow the symbolism matches up right with them being basically satanic. Johnny Depp, dude, look at his tattoos. Just go to Google, look up all of his tattoos. It matches up perfectly, 100% with everything I've told you. And I don't know how you excuse that. Here's a dumb example, Madonna. So, I don't know if she still does this. It's something I stumbled across. She developed a persona called Madam X. Okay? And, you know, just look at this. This was from the Eurovision concert, I'm pretty sure. There's a live performance she did at something called Euro, as in European Vision. The things she was saying and singing, and then everyone's in black robes. Just, I mean, if you care, it's just more crap that these people are pushing on everyone. And like I said, man, you should really stop respecting these people so much and putting them on a pedestal, because they're really there to, like, basically, I've said this a million times, to download bad values into your mind and heart. That's what I think they're there to do, whether they know it or not. But again, this is proving that she knows a little something. Okay, Madam X, she's got the pirate eye patch on with the X on it, all this crap across her chest. Let's keep dreaming. Okay, that's an interesting thing to say. Let's keep dreaming X. Madam X Theater. It's hard to let go. X marks the spot. See, that's another thing with that's another shit with the pirate thing. You guys get it, man. Madam X is a masochist. Exactly. Like I've been saying. Okay, mood today. Thanks for digging this up. Up your bum. She's wearing a shirt that says the X, man. Like I'm telling you, these things mean a lot of things at the same time. We're talking about death, okay? Think about a form of sex that does not produce life. Okay, I'm not talking about you're a bad guy if you are gay, or if you even straight people can participate in this form of sex. The X, she's saying up your bum. I'm telling you, there's something to that with I'm going to do another video on that. Like the Black Sun, for example. There's that song by Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun. What's his name? Weird Al did a parody of it called Asshole Sun. And he's making a joke, but the Black Sun, one way to think about it, is as an asshole. Literally. You'll even see, I know this sounds weird, I'm going off topic, but you'll even see pictures of the Virgin Mary looking like female genitalia. Go look it up, it's everywhere. Like, it's not an accident that she was illustrated like that. One way to view religious stories is as a sex act. And if there was a sex act that symbolically categorized Saturn, it would be this one, the up your bum thing. I'm telling you, she knows this stuff. She's not putting it in here. That's not an accident that it's there. I'm telling you, she knows this. She just doesn't come out and say it, which is what bothers me. And she's getting people to get tied into this crap and like that's what I'm saying with the girl with the flag, and she was aware of it being part of this whole theme and aesthetic without even truly realizing it. She's getting people to be tied into this without them even really realizing it. Okay? I know that was a rant. So, again, here's her with a shirt that says, Kabbalists do it better. So, and there's interviews of her talking about being into Kabbalah and stuff. So, it's just more proof that she's into the occult. What I'm trying to prove with this picture is that if she's openly acknowledging or saying to people, okay, I'm into Kabbalah, for example, which is, of course, she's into Kabbalah of all of it. It's not Masonry or whatever. It's Kabbalah. The probability that when she throws these X's and stuff out there and does all this other crap, the probability of that being her purposely slipping occult coding into her stuff is higher because she's saying that, okay, I'm into Kabbalah. It's kind of a dumb shirt. Like, I'm not going to go around saying, I'm an occultist, but whatever. Just another thing, Complex Magazine. I don't even know who the hell this is. He's got his arms crossed, which we're going to talk about in a second, which makes an X. He's got one eye covered. Classic crap that we've seen a million times. Hopefully I have the picture I'm talking about to talk about the crossed arms. This is an Ariana Grande video. I don't know what that is, but the X in the circle right there, it could just be a valve or something. I don't even know what music video this is. But once again, she's one of those people that is into the occult, and she will never directly tell you. I have videos of her, for example. She has a song called Raindrops, I think. It says, I think the lyrics go something like, the day you left me, an angel cried. She actually has a nice voice in the video. It's a live performance. It sounds nice, sounds pretty. But in the background, while she's singing about the day you left me, an angel cried, like, she's got a solar eclipse forming, creating a black sun behind her. I'll do a video. Like I said, I have so many videos I want to make, and there's so many individuals. Like, I could go down the list: Johnny Depp, Ariana Grande, Madonna, all this stuff, and point out how these people are into some stuff, and they don't ever directly actually talk about it. They just kind of, which is what makes me, and it's usually wicked stuff that they're like using. So it's like, why are you, I don't know, man. Why all the secrets? Whatever. Anyway, she's got the black sun in that live performance thing. She's got the video called 7 Rings, which people think she's talking about 7 rings for her friends or whatever. No, it's the 7 rings of Saturn, dude. Like, 100%. She's got that Break Free music video where she's like stealing the tree of life, like, which is the Kabbalah symbol. So they're both in the Kabbalah. I'm just saying, man, stuff's not an accident. I'm right about this stuff. I don't know. I'm not saying they're evil. Madonna's a little more messed up, one of the more messed up ones. And when I see Johnny Depp's tattoos, it's hard for me to say, like, honestly look at you and say that that's a good guy. I don't know a good guy that would get that stuff tattooed on him. But I'll leave that up for you to decide if they're good or bad. I don't trust any of these people, man, and I don't think you should look up to any of them. If you want someone to look up to, like, look up to your mom and dad. Like, think like, there's so much distance between you and these celebrities that you've, like, created, like, they're like a symbol in your head. They're not even real people. People, like, they're called idols. You're literally worshiping them, and you're not even looking at them like they're real humans anymore. There's so much just deception and, like, selective information that they don't, you only know about them what they've sold to you and what they've shown you, okay? And there's so much distance, there's not enough proximity to where you can actually realize that they're just a normal person. And they're probably not even normal. They're probably actually, you know, who knows what goes on behind the scenes up there in Hollywood. Probably nothing good. Probably nothing you want to be a part of, so stop acting like that's the ultimate dream. Anyways, the Lazarus sign, or the Lazarus reflex, is a reflex movement in a brain-dead or brainstem failure patients which causes them to briefly raise their arms and drop them crossed on their chests. It's a position similar to some Egyptian mummies. The phenomenon is named after a biblical figure, Lazarus of Bethany, whom Jesus raised from the dead in the Gospel of John. You know, you think about how vampires lay in their coffin with the arms crossed, and, like, people cross their arms X, like the Egyptian pharaohs and stuff. Speaking of the Jesus thing, back to the cross where he was crucified, and I was saying how the cross is actually an X symbol. There's also some crucifixions of some of the apostles where they're literally crucified on an X. It's not that T-shaped X, it's like literally an X. So that's something worth mentioning, I guess. I don't have pictures of it, but you can find illustrations if you really care. To me, that potentially further proves the point that that cross is indeed an X symbol. So it's just weird that that's actually a thing that happens, supposedly. A brain dead or brainstem failure patient will cause them to briefly raise their arms and drop them cross on their chest. Like the knee-jerk reflex, the Lazarus sign is an example of a reflex mediated by a reflex arc, a neural pathway which passes via the spinal column but not through the brain. As a consequence, the movement is possible in brain-dead patients whose organs have been kept functioning by life support machines. Anyways, that's just one example of the X thing being tied in to, again, death, Saturn, through another perspective, which is this Lazarus reflex. And you know what? The whole traveling up the spinal column, arc in your brain, there's something to that shit, and I can't tell you anything about it because I don't know enough. But Kundalini, and like the light, the in Kabbalah, there's supposedly a path up the tree from the root to Kether, which is like the shape of a lightning bolt. And in Kundalini is kind of the same thing. It's supposed to be something traveling up your 33 vertebrae or whatever the however many you have. Again, there's so many overlaps with the occult. It even goes down to your physiological and like anatomy. So I can't say too much about that though. So that's something for you to potentially look into on yourself. Cult of Gozer from Ghostbusters, the main villain from Ghostbusters. His symbol, the cult, at least maybe not his symbol, but the worshippers of Gozer, the cult of Gozer. It's an X inside of a circle. So there's that. Cult of Gozer, they're standing on the X inside the circle. Clortho completed their ritual. A portal opened and Gozer crossed over from the temple onto the physical plane. You know, it's funny. I don't know. I haven't seen the Ghostbusters movies. I know that's like a crime, but I've done a little bit of looking into them just because of things like that. How it seems like they're dropping some occult stuff in it. Ray, the character Ray, he has a store called Ray's Occult Books. They're talking about how, you know, all the energy and negative feelings of everybody in New York had to go somewhere and it had to create something. So how everyone was thinking and feeling literally created this. I mean, I think they call it like slime in the movie, but it's just interesting. It's a very basic concept of how individuals and people in the aggregate collectively think, feel, and do bad things, which is part of the reason I despise the Hollywood stuff and the music stuff, is because they're programming you to think and feel and do those bad things, and it ends up creating a reality that's not good. So how you think, feel, and act generates a certain reality. For you, I mean, as an individual, you have a lot of power, but you need, you know, numbers also. The majority is something to be considered. Like, if you get a majority of people to have a certain set of values and think about the world in a certain way and act on those thoughts and values, then you're going to generate a certain kind of reality. And they understand that process, so that's why they're so fixated on basically mind control, the programming of, you know, the input-output of life, basically. Gozerian Society. I don't know who made this. I don't know if this is like an official Ghostbusters thing. Probably not, but it's just, again, the X was a symbol for Gozer's cult, and then you have this black sun behind the pyramid. It's the only reason I included it, because black sun and X are the same thing. This isn't a symbol I know a lot about. The seventh star of Babylon, the symbol used by Aleister Crowley. The reason I'm including it in this video is right here at the top. You have an X inside a circle. Here's another thing. The Slender Man symbol. The operator symbol. The operator symbol is a circle with an X drawn through it, just like that. Just like we just saw. It has been revealed that the original idea was, which this is a symbol for a fictional character in a video game or a horror story called Slender Man. See, Slender Man symbol. The operator symbol is a circle with an X drawn through it. It has been revealed that the original idea was for it to mean no face by Alex. It has a connection to the Ark, as they were made marble hornets, aware of it being named opera. So this is like basically a horror story somebody made, and it took on life and it got popular. It's kind of not as relevant anymore, but it was a big deal back in the day. I think there was even supposedly 2 girls two little girls that like committed a murder because they said Slender Man told them to do it or whatever. But it's just interesting because you have a guy that's dressed in all black. I'm pretty sure one of his characteristics is that he preys on children, which is again another heavily Saturn thing, heavily associated with Saturn, is the preying on of children. And you could call that time, the passage of time, but I think it goes a little bit further than that. I think it goes a little bit more horrible and weird than that. Than just, oh, it's the children aging. I think that's one way to think about it, sure, but that's not it. I'll leave it at that. Again, you have, and again, the operator, his name being the operator symbol. I'm going to do a video on number 9 symbolism, right? And there's a song goes, hello operator, give me number 9. And I don't know that this is something I'm just now connecting. Like when I was piecing these pictures together, I was thinking about it, and I think even in the Matrix, you know, there's in the Matrix 2 and 3 or whatever, there's a character named the Operator, and I think he has something to do with running the Matrix itself. I could be wrong about that, but there's something to that Operator thing. And the hello Operator, give me number 9. He's like, there's another clip of Simpsons, right, where there's like one of the little nerdy kids. He's on a seesaw. It's him and his ghost, him and his dead self on a seesaw, and they're singing that song, hello operator, give me number 9. I'll include it in that video. But you have that number 9 thing, and I don't know why hello operator. It's that whole like life and death, different realms kind of merging or coming together type thing. But there's something, the main thing to pay attention to is, okay, Slender Man, he preys on kids, his symbol is an X inside of a circle, which is worth noting, but it's still an X. And the operator thing. So something to keep in mind, because it'll probably come up again. So, Fraternus Saturni, Brotherhood of Saturn, is a German magical order founded in 1926. The lodge is a gregarious states concerned with the study of esotericism, mysticism, and magic in the cosmic sense. Okay, so Brotherhood of Saturn doesn't look like, you know, a very nice thing to be a part of. So, supposedly, this is just somebody drawing something, so this isn't, like, hardcore evidence, but an Ordo Saturnus ritual drawing done by Fritz Springmeier based on a drawing done by an eyewitness. So this is a drawing based on a drawing of an eyewitness. But, take a look at the altar, right here. You got the X inside the circle, which I've been trying to tell you, the X is a Saturn symbol. And there's a lot of ways you can think about that, and I'm not here to tell you, I'm not capable of telling you the entirety that there is to know about whatever is going on here. But there's something going on. And behind him you have the sickle thing, which is again, Saturn's holding the sickle, it's the communist crap. And you have I'm pretty sure that's the triangle for Earth. I could be wrong. I don't know why it's in a circle, but the upside down maybe that's water, actually, because it doesn't have a line through it. I'm not too familiar with that. But it's either Earth or water. And, yeah, and then the main reason I include it is because you have the X inside the circle, which could be supposedly time and space. Circle being time, X being space. But there's a little bit of contradiction there with me saying that to you, because Saturn is time, conceptually. That's one way to think about it. But he's also, if Saturn is X and time, then he's also the circle, because the circle can be time. If you look at Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail and stuff, which is symbolic of time, you'll see it's a circle. So why is there a time symbol as a circle? You can even see the old illustrations of Saturn, a bearded old guy with a scythe in his hand, holding up an Ouroboros, which is that circle of a dragon or a snake eating its own tail. This is just the Xbox symbol. I do think that even Xbox itself is it's kind of like a mockery, man. It's kind of like I talked about Saturn and like dream worlds and like siphoning energy and stuff. if you think about video games, and I do like a good story. I like video games, but you're basically being, on some level, you're kind of being sucked into a matrix. Like, you're sitting there staring at a screen instead of, like, being in the moment and living your life. You're being kind of, like, captured by the technology. And the reason I even think even more of this, if you look at a lot of the game development studios, like, before you start up a game, pay attention to the studios that made it and their little logos and stuff. It's insane. Some will be like on the Unity engine and it's a cube, or like the Black Box Studios. It's stuff like that. I have so many pictures, it's ridiculous. And it actually hurts my feelings because, like, I just want to sit down and enjoy a game, but I feel like I'm being symbolically mocked every time I turn on my Xbox and start up a game. There's, you know, the fact that I'm even playing on an Xbox, and the game studio companies usually have something to do with the occult, and it's usually negative occult stuff. So that's just how I feel. I'd just say pay attention to those things that are shown to you. This is just some dumb graffiti in Tel Aviv. I don't know who did it or why, but it just goes to show. So you got the X'd out eyes of some, like, demon character inside a hexagon, which is a cube, which is a, yeah, so I just thought that was weird. It's like some weird thing with horns with X eyes in a cube. But to me, it was probably done by someone who understands something about the occult. And if not, then, like I said, like I was explaining earlier, this stuff has a way of working its way into people's minds and realities. Like, it's like intrinsic in us in some way, and people, like, participate in it without even realizing it. That happens very often. Like, they'll say things or do things or be interested in things without even realizing, like, what it actually is. Which I don't even understand what this stuff is entirely. Here's something that was going on a while ago. Disease X, pandemic symptoms. This was, I think it was something in Africa. I don't know too much about the history of this stuff, but this was a picture taken to, like, you know, as from a journalist. Look how this picture was taken. You think it just accidentally happened to be taken like that? And maybe it was. Maybe, like I said, this stuff has a way of working its way into reality, even if it wasn't phoned in by, like, a group of Masons or a group of whoever's, the shadowy cabal. It's kind of like with the 9/11 predictive programming. There's like 1,000 examples. I guarantee you, every example was not purposely included by a group of men. It's like coding in reality itself. Sometimes this stuff has a way of working its way in without men purposely slipping it in there. I hope that makes sense. And you call it syncretism if you want. So look at this picture. You have the two guys carrying away the kid with the X on the background. So this kid probably has disease X, whatever the hell that is, and then they marked his house or this wall, or for whatever reason. This picture seems like it was posed for, on purpose, in my opinion. And you got the X in the background, they're carrying away the kid. You know X is Saturn now, right? And, you know, it's just disease X, here's the kid. And how many look up Saturn gods, and that's what they're always doing. All the time. Like I said, you could look at that as the passage, symbolic for the passage of time, but it goes beyond that, man. It goes far beyond that. It's like you're giving up something. Think about whatever the hell a kid symbolically could represent to you, and think about why you would give that, you would sacrifice that or give that up. You know, Future, the rapper Future, he said in an interview, he's like, I had to sacrifice true love to get where I'm at. Didn't really explain what he meant or why he said that or anything, but just in a way, I think that statement is a little like this picture. That's all I'm going to say. So here's a victim from the Manson murders, right? I'll read a little about it in a second, but just quickly, the word, it says war, right? Oh, but what the hell's up with that W? That's because it's not a W. It's a seal of Saturn, which is kind of like an X. And maybe the AR means something too, but that W is not a W, and I'll prove it right now. Watch. Whom he stabbed a total of 12, which is weird. 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. He then carved the word war into his abdomen. Oh yeah, that's what that is, huh? That's the word war. Nobody was, you know, think about how many like crime documentaries and stuff were made about Charles Manson. Nobody ever told you this. Nobody ever pointed this out. That is a seal of Saturn. I might have a picture of it. Let's see. I don't think I do, but oh, here it is. Yeah. Go. That's what that is. That is a seal of Saturn. And I'm going to increase the likelihood right now and prove to you that that's probably even more likely a seal of Saturn, because guess what Manson and all of his little buddies had on their forehead? They had the X, which is why I'm even talking about this. Look, I don't know if you can see it, but all of his little, you know, friends or whatever had the X on their forehead. Another thing, too, that sheriff badge, the 6-pointed star, give me a break. Like, you think that, like, it's funny because you think these are like the good guys, but they're, I don't know. The judge, he's in the black robe. The law, the 6-pointed star is a sheriff badge. They're all, that's Saturn stuff too. It's funny. Here's the criminals with the Saturn shit, and then there's supposedly the good guys with the Saturn shit too. There's a little bit closer up picture. She's got an X on her forehead. The point I was trying to make is, okay, so they carved the seal of Saturn into the guy's abdomen. I don't know why. I can't explain it to you. And then they all had X's on their foreheads, which to me, again, further increases the likelihood that that W was in fact a seal of Saturn and not a W. Nobody writes a W like that. That's not, nobody draws W like that. That was 100% intentional. These people were into weird stuff, the occult. And just because you'll never see like a HBO crime documentary tell you this doesn't mean there's nothing to it. These people, nobody talks about this stuff, and it's there clear as day to me. Clear as day. And you know, it's funny, he later turned this X into a swastika. If you see him now, that X is a swastika. He probably just drew a line here, drew a line there, or whatever. Which, the Nazis, for example, go to Google, type in Nazi Black Sun, type in Himmler's Castle, type in Totenkampf, type in, you know, certain things. The Nazis were heavily into the occult. So, that swastika was probably something else. I do think an X and the swastika were the same thing. I do think they are the same thing. And, you know, it's funny because here's a character from Naruto, Neji. He's got the X on his forehead, and then guess what? In the manga, they changed it because it hurt people's feelings, it bothered people or whatever. This seal is attached to members of the Hyuga branch family. It is placed on the family member at the birth to ensure the secrets of the Byakugan do not fall into enemy hands. It also ensures that the branch member follows the orders of the main house. When the seal is placed on the branch member's forehead, their mind can be destroyed by a hand seal. No, okay, that's a little weird. The destroying of the mind part. This is a variation, blah, blah, blah. Okay, please note this is a variation on what is commonly known as the Manji, which had its origins several thousand years before the Nazis came to power and used the swastika. It was usually known as a symbol of good luck and protection. I don't know. I know most people think that the swastika used to be a good thing. I don't know too much about the origin of that symbol. I don't think, oh, is good luck and protection is a sufficient explanation. I think that swastika is tied into the X stuff. Anyways, in the manga, which is basically a Japanese comic book, which is what they based the TV shows, the animes off of, this was a swastika. It wasn't an X. So Charles Manson had the X, and he later turned it into a swastika. And in Naruto, he had the swastika, but they turned it into an X, so they wouldn't. It was like almost like it was the same thing. So, or that they were interchangeable, which I think they might be. Just so they wouldn't, you know, so they could not offend audiences or whatever. Some clip from a movie, I forget which movie, trying to, again, just that the X and the swastika might be interchangeable. So you have this mother, again, the mother thing, with her, like, cooking robe on or whatever that is, and it morphs slowly, boom, 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 into a swastika. So she's got the X, and it's a mom, and it morphs into that. Which, I don't know, man, I think there's something to that. I'm not promoting this stuff by any stretch of the imagination. If anything, I'm actually proving that these people were into some evil shit. And anyways, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.